Good evening. Today, I would like to discuss Canaanite and early Israelite cultic practices. And because I'm an archaeologist, I'll be spending less time on the textual evidence and more time on some of the material evidence, particularly material evidence I can hold in my hand. Now, first of all, I use the term Canaanite and Israelite together because from an archaeological perspective, it is very difficult to discern the difference between Canaanites and Israelites. Part of the reason for that might be that they're related peoples, that they're peoples who have their origins in the same group of people, so that the Israelites could be a branch of the Canaanites. It also could be that when the Israelites entered Canaan, which might be sometime in the second millennium BC, they had similar practices to the people that they were taking the land from. Now, in addition to taking land from a group of people, they would also take cultural things such as vessels or building styles. One of the easiest things to date are oil lamps. And this is an example of an oil lamp that many people would date to the Bronze Age. I don't want to give specific dates for the Bronze Age because the Bronze Age is very broad, but if we use the exact date of about 2000 BC, that would probably be safe. As is clear, it looks very different from a Roman oil lamp because it is not enclosed, it is open. The vessel would have sat like this, and there would have been a single wick here to burn and perhaps give as much light as a 40-watt light bulb. So in other words, it would have been a fairly dim experience. It has a pinkish fabric, so it would have been fired in a kiln with access to air, and as you can see from the way it's made, it's not made with a very fast wheel. It's made relatively primitively, perhaps on a slow wheel, perhaps somebody was turning the vessel to even it out a little bit, or perhaps they just made it by hand. I have another vessel, again roughly Bronze Age, and it's easy to see that this has 4 wicks. It's also large, and it would have been a commanding presence in a room. Unfortunately, there are no carbon deposits here to show burning, but it is clear from the form that this vessel would have been used as a lamp, and perhaps it would have given more light than the 40-watt light bulb because there would have been 4 wicks. At the same time, it would have used oil very much faster than this single oil lamp. Now, something that has been somewhat of a problem to archaeologists are a group of vessels that they call ritual. A ritual vessel in archaeological terminology means that archaeologists aren't quite sure what it is. This is an example of a ritual vessel that dates to about 2000 BC. And this is labeled a Canaanite ritual vessel, but as I mentioned before, archaeologically it's very difficult to tell. Was it Canaanite? Was it early Israelite? Was it perhaps another group? Particularly difficult because we're not sure exactly where this vessel was made. And as is clear, the vessel is very different in form. In fact, it looks more like a modern candlestick holder. And as you can see, it's on a long base, relatively stable. It's in a bowl, and this likely would have held something to burn. Probably it wasn't a candle as we knew it, because the archaeological evidence for a candle made out of animal fat and a wick is very much later than this. Probably it would have been something organic, maybe plant materials that would have been soaked in something, may have been wrapped in something that would burn. And this would have been a suitable object of worship, which is why you would call it a ritual vessel. This kind of worship would be more at home with a people who don't like anthropomorphic representations of their gods. We're well aware that in the Zoroastrian religion of ancient Iran, fire is used as a central point of worship, is viewed as the messenger of the deity, because there is a unease at an absolute depiction of something that is regarded as awesome, beyond comprehension. It's likely that fire would have played a similar role with the early Hebrews. As we're clear, when Moses encounters the burning bush, he is amazed at the flame that seems to burn so bright, yet does not consume what it is feeding on. It's quite likely that the Canaanites or the early Israelites used fire in that way. And this is why things like lamps are so important in both the Hebrew Bible and in the New Testament. Thank you very much.